Hello and welcome to Warhammer Workshop. My name is Amy and I'm here with my hobby partner in crime, JF. And we are here for another preview review. Preview review? One of the two. JF, hello.
Hello, Amy. What did you think of this preview?
So it's a good preview. I think that they overplayed their hand. I think we knew ahead of time at least the big news that was going to be in this preview.
They did leave very little to the imagination, but knowing ahead of time the subject of conversation does not necessarily mean. I mean, basically, we saw the wrapper for the burger, but was it a chicken burger? Was it like, is this a McDouble? Like there was still a portion of discovery to be made that kept this exciting to a certain degree.
All right, that's fair. But yeah, I feel like after they announced that the September model in stores was going to be a League of Votann model, this was kind of the start. So are you
the coin also kind of gave it away.
So now you didn't get to see, because you were actually at Adepticon and you got to go to the real Adepticon preview. You didn't get to have Sleepy Preview. So today you got to have Sleepy Preview, and they were not so sleepy, and I'm a little disappointed by it.
I think Adam and Eddie should just embrace it and wear pajamas, preferably branded with their favorite army.
Yeah.
I could easily imagine Eddie wearing an extremely colorful flannel pajama, just covered in orc faces and glyphs.
Yeah. Now I want.
I think this needs to happen.
I want Warhammer. I know they did the robes, but I need Warhammer flannel jammies.
If only we knew someone capable of sewing pajamas.
They did, at least. They didn't sort of drag out the part of this preview that we already knew about. You want to dive in?
Let's. I mean, it's only a small thing to talk about.
So they finally.
I'm gonna try to put in as many small jokes as I can in there.
So they have finally announced the actual League of Votann army box. Is that what it's called? I think that's what it's called.
It's an army set, I believe.
Yeah. So this is the launch box for the Leagues of Votann. This is everything you get in the box. You get 2 squads of Hearthkin, you get a couple of characters, and you get a couple of the hover bikes, and it's awesome. They've said it's coming in...
I've been practicing pronouncing the names for a little while now.
Oh,
they're
they're
a little tricky.
They are. So you also get in the box, as per usual with this sort of thing, the special edition Codex. And so we've got the 2 of the characters that come in the box. Uthar the Destined with his sword. He can also be built as sort of a more generic call to lead your army. And we also have the Einhir Champion, who is like a physical wrecking ball, which is a good time. If there's one thing that the Leagues of Votann do, it is tactical rocks.
They kind of don't have a choice. If they're trying to compete with other centerpiece models and HQ models as far as stature is concerned, they need those tactical rocks. Because I think one of the things that people are having a little bit of trouble grasping is that we're having these 2 phenomena kind of collide when it comes to the League of Votann miniatures. Mm-hmm. First of all, because of the 3D sculpting and the new molding technologies for plastics that Games Workshop is using, we're getting so much more detail than we used to be. So we're getting these very detailed figs that we don't realize are actually very small. Yeah. These guys, if you look at the bases, these strike me as being 40mm bases. They don't stand very tall if you remove the rocks for the size of the model. But these still look so very precise. All those glyphs are very detailed. Everything looks crisp. So we're in a situation where I don't think we realize how tiny these guys are and how necessary these rocks are.
Yes. So we also that's everything they've covered for what's in the box that they have said is coming in September, which it is September in a lot of places already. So it is coming soon, TM.
Yeah, we are September adjacent.
Yeah. So we saw some other things. We have the Thonian Berserk Mole Grenade Launcher, which is a mouthful.
Now, this is my understanding, the way they described it, that this is an option. So I'm assuming this guy and his buddy come in the basic Thonian Berserk box set.
So
meaning that he can probably be built as just your standard dude, and then you have a random robot helper bear model.
Yeah. So
I'm excited for
that kin is great. Carries all your stuff, including your plasma axe without blade, which I didn't really think about how that would work. But they don't pay me to think about how that would work, so that's cool. They've done a cool job with that. I'm into this mole grenade that burrows under the ground. That seems
that is a throwback from the original squat lineup, I believe.
Yeah.
It's like one of the original ignore line of sight type things.
Perfect. We also have the Grimnir, which I believe they said is a title and not a name.
Yeah, it's a title. It's basically their term for whatever counts as a psyker in the Leagues of Votann.
Yeah, and so he has two mechanical buddies. They're Corvs.
Corvs. Oh yeah, those are Corvs. The other ones are Cogs.
These are Corvs, and they've got guns, and I love them. There's something sort of reminiscent of the Sisters of Battle Cherubs about them, and they're like adorable flying, but also big guns. I
love how they have those tiny little dome heads.
Yeah. They don't need what?
I'm eager to see, because I don't even remember when the first Castellan robots for the Adeptus Mechanicus came out. Their faceplate looked a little dull and boring, and we're seeing a little bit of that same vibe here. But then people started doing really interesting things in the way they painted those faceplates. And I'm eager to see how many people are going to paint those in various different ways, maybe looking like plasma lamps or any kind of really funky, unique fashions. There's a lot to be done by creative, talented painters, and little domed heads like that are that's just a blank canvas for the creative.
They are very small, though. I mean, I'm not saying that stops anyone, but they are particularly small.
The courageous. One of the things I like is, and that was mentioned in the preview, that this is very reminiscent of, say, a druid or a Nordic shaman with a flock of ravens or crows, and that is exactly the bird heads on the on the corvs and the little wing pattern things.
Corvs.
I'm loving that.
It's real good. We also saw
for Corvid.
We also saw the Brockir Iron Master, and his variety of helpers. So those are ECOGs.
This posse.
Yeah. So they are hardy combat and repair drones. So we've got the one Ironkin down in the bottom corner there, and then the rest are more drones. It's sort of the difference between a robot and an android, theoretically.
And I believe the little helper at the bottom is an Ironkin, while the other ones are ECOGs, which are described as being slightly less sentient.
Yeah, it's like your Roomba with a gun.
Yeah, and this dude is your sort of standard repair HQ model that is there to take care of repairing either vehicles or armors, depending on what the rules are going to be for him. But doesn't look like he's any slouch in combat either. Like his buddies all have bolters and guns and last cutter, and he's got what's been described as a graviton rifle, and he's got this massive hammer. I think he's going to be a force to contend with regardless.
Love it. especially since a lot of those kind of repair guys tend to be a little squishy. It's nice to have one that can stand on his own. Then we got the biggest model in the line, which granted is not saying much when you're talking about the Leagues of Votann. But this is the Hekaton Land Fortress. It's a
lot of people were disappointed that it's not a train.
It is not a train. I think that's a Necromunda. I mean, if you really want to, like, just get that one, and then it's fine. So this bad boy is a tank and it's a transport. You can put 12 kin in there. It's got tiny doors because they are small. I love the cockpits on these. They're super cool looking.
They've got a very kind of unique look for what we've seen in tanks in the 40k universe so far. Really sets them apart from anything from the Imperial Guard or the Space Marines.
So they said it's got some anti-aircraft. It also has that big top gun. It's one of the option items. It does have its own railgun technology that is reminiscent but distinct from Tau railgun technology. See, Magna Rail Cannon. Or the SP Heavy Conversion Beamer.
And these all sound, from what Adam and Eddie were saying during the preview, like they have some pretty interesting, funky rules.
Yeah. I love that.
I'm loving how they managed to make the squads or the League of Votann into this sort of collision of Imperial and Tau tech, bridging those two sort of worlds.
Yeah.
I mean, you can even see the shape of the door is very reminiscent of the shape of doors on things like Land Raiders or other Imperial vehicles. But the cockpit is its own unique thing. Like, you don't, like, it also shows kind of the courage that they have. Most of the other races of the 40k universe don't use cockpits of that size and ease to aim. Like, Space Marines have little slits, and you know the Imperial, same thing for the Tau. The Imperial Guard also kind of use very smallish, harder, like low visibility. These guys just want a panoramic view of whatever they're going to be hitting, which I think also hints to the fact that while they do use a lot of armor, they also seem to rely on a lot of force fields, which is going to be interesting to see how that is translated into their rules.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes sense for their lore too, because they are not necessarily out here to fight. Like, they are miners, and if you're going to get into their way, then they will fight you. But that's not necessarily where they started.
Well, they're miners, and I think my favorite part, miners and explorers.
Yes.
And I love the idea, because we don't get a lot of explorers in 40k. Even the Tau are not into exploration; they're into expansion.
Right.
So this is a unique sort of philosophy that we haven't seen too much of in the 40k universe, and that's fun.
So, speaking of people who are all about fighting, we did get one other 40k preview, and that is the new Khorne Berzerkers. We'd seen one of them previously, and now they have previewed for us all 10 of them. There are a variety of options. You've got one-handed weapons, you've got two-handed weapons, you have bear heads, you have helmeted heads. There's a few different banners, they said, and icons. So these guys are going to come in a box of 10. And they are going to be out, quote-unquote, soon, which we know because we got the roadmap. So as we know, the Chaos Demons, we've already talked about them a few times. They will be out and available for purchase this weekend. As we said, September is for League of Votann, and then they have Astra Militarum and World Eaters for quote-unquote winter, which is soon.
I'm more excited about this roadmap than I thought I would. Chaos Demons is something I'm very excited with for, or rather, much like the World Eaters or those Berserkers that we just saw, I am excited for whoever this is for.
Yeah.
it's not for me, but everything about it looks great. I can't wait to fight someone that's going to play them. And it's so cool to see the evolution of older models into this newer form.
Yeah.
And I know that for Astra Militarum players must be absolutely chomping at the bit. I'm actually looking forward to that new codex because the release of the Navy Breachers for Kill Team has got me kind of Astra Militarum curious these days. I'm wondering what I could do with those. I've built Valkyries in the past, and I think they're very exciting. They're cool models. Sue me. I know it's weird. I just love them. So, but I get that seeing everything else come out first, except for World Eaters, which is a new faction, must have been frustrating.
Yeah.
But if you look at what they've been doing with all these other new factions and all these revised factions and the new models and the revised updated kits, and we already know that we're getting new Sentinels, we know we're getting a couple of other new things for Astra Militarum, I think the wait is actually worth it. It just... I mean, I'm a Tyranid player, and we got one model. I would have probably been okay waiting another 6 to 8 months to get a codex that maybe had a couple more new units instead.
Plus,
you know
it's
what
like
I mean?
you'd been telling me about your you went to play Crusade with your brother who was going to play Necrons, which is the first codex of the edition, and the Crusade rules for them are not amazing because they were like the first ones.
Yeah, they're aight.
Yeah.
But they ain't awesome.
Yeah. So it'll be worth it. They keep telling us that, so I hope so. From the 41st millennium, we travel to the mortal realms with the new Warhammer Underworld's warband, the Gorechosen of Dromm. Now, I looked at these guys and I was like, oh, Khorne warband. Yeah, we have not had one since Maegor's Fiends back in the very beginning. So it is time. I'm pretty psyched for this one because it is only 3 models. It is an elite warband, which most of the ones that have been out lately have not been. There is the leader there, he is a priest. And then he's got his 2 brawlers, and there's some pretty cool things. As you can imagine, it's a Khorne warband. They're pretty aggressive. Kind of excited for just 3 dudes.
So in the very scant amount of time since they've previewed this up to now, I've considerably warmed up to this warband.
Yeah.
They announced it, oh, it's Khorne, and I immediately kind of tuned out and started playing on my phone. But the more I looked at him, the more I heard him talk about it, the more interesting I find him, as if only as a modeling situation, because each of them is, because it's an elite warband, every model is super characterful.
Yeah.
The idea of a priest of Khorne is in and of itself just a bizarre concept. Doesn't make them look any less violent. But then you've got this other big guy with the big horn that just looks like a big brawler, and then you've got the guy with the fire, which is always a great opportunity for OSL, for object source lighting painting. So it's only 3 figs. I can go from not having that warband to having it fully painted and playing it in no time, which is always the biggest problem with these warbands.
Yeah.
And they look
dope. And in a much bigger announcement, we've got this fellow right here. He is the Blood Pelt Hunter, which we did see in one of the preview images from the countdown to this preview this week on all of the Warhammer community social media. We did see like the giant footprint crushing. It was like Chaos Shield or something like that into the dirt. So we did know that giants were coming. So this guy is a member of the Ogor Mawtribes, and he will kill anything, and he keeps trophies of everything that he kills. I love his antlers an awful lot. I want like all of the models that all of these trophies belong to.
I know, and I was kind of hoping from this preview that what we would see for Age of Sigmar would be more Seraphon related, just because of some of the previews that we've seen.
They're coming
for Warcry stuff. But seeing this little dinosaur head makes me think, maybe. Yeah. He looks a little tall compared to the average ogre build, like longer legs than what I'm used to seeing. I'm not against it. He's still got this very fat, strong man build, which is fun. It's I mean, I relate to that a lot more in the six pack. So
he's designed to fight against beasts, right? Like he's designed to fight against your big bad monsters, and there are plenty of big bad monsters out there.
Now, in that optic, is it wrong that I look at that and I'm thinking, Beast Naga War Boss for 40K?
He's a little big, I feel.
I don't care.
All right. Pay him green.
Give him some bigger
teeth. You're there.
Yeah. I mean, give him a proper head swap. Give him a bit of maybe a shoulder pad made out of some orc glyphs. Update that crossbow to look a little more high tech.
All right.
Every model is an orc model.
Every model is an orc model. It's not the only big bad stompy we got, though. We've got King Broad, who is king of the Mega Gargants. This is the tallest, I forget exactly how they phrased it.
Just biggest
model
character in Age of Sigmar.
He's massive. You can see various shields and stuff sort of on his loincloth there. His bracer appears to be a door. He's got friends. He's got little buddies, which was a cool thing. They were like, if you ever wondered how these Mega Gargants have the dexterity to put all these little beads and stuff in their hair. No, they've got little buddies. And that's phenomenal.
Attendants.
You know us.
And he's apparently got also like a Leviathan shell somewhere on his body.
Yep.
All these details, that's one of the things I've always loved about the Gargants, especially the Mega Gargants, is that they borrow so much of the items and pieces on their armor and clothing from other armies. It's like a collection of other things.
I mean, those, like his shoulder piece / cloak thing, like I'm pretty sure that's like a tent, like an orky, goblin-y tent with the big.
It could be. I mean, it could easily be one of those tents from the Ogor Mawtribe too.
He's just great.
And the headpiece, the dragon headpiece, is nothing to scoff at either. That's massive and cool looking.
These Gargant kits usually come with a lot of extra fun greeblies. Like there's the one that's got the cow that is one of the greatest bits in all of Warhammer.
This one in particular was mentioned that it is based on the original Mega Gargant kit and is probably just an added sprue that allows you to build that specific character. The same way we've seen for Knights in 40K, the character something Rex, I can't remember his name, is basically just the same basic set of Imperial Knight sprues with this extra sprue tossed in to create the character.
He's bigger though.
So it's.
They did say he's bigger. So I don't know that. I think he might be his own fellow.
Maybe. I don't know. I think like I'd have to compare the two models, but I think the leg configuration looks very much similar to what we've seen so far. And bigger could also come from just having a more massive hammer and having that helmet that the other Gargants don't have. I think that's one that we'll have to see. Like I don't feel like pulling up the images and compare them right now, but in analysis, I'm sure we'll figure it out. Other details are fun about him that were mentioned. His rings are crowns from city states that he's destroyed and possibly devoured, and that's an insanely cool detail.
We also got the Slaves to Darkness box that is coming. We got the army box preview with their new battle tome. There are new, what are they called? Chaos guys. You know, there's guys. They're just Chaos Warriors.
Is it Chaos Warriors?
Yeah. So there's new Chaos Warriors, which are all super characterful. It was like they were saying these are
a lot more
like,
dynamic than their predecessors.
yeah, or like, you know, a decade ago, these would have been champion and character models, and now they're your foot-slogging soldiers. Also in the box is the Daemon Prince, which we've seen this fellow before with his assortment of Chaos God devoted heads. And the
Myrmidons, I want to say.
No, Orgroid Theridons. The other one's a Myrmidon. This is the Theridons.
I guess you can't copyright Myrmidon, so.
No, one of the other guys is a Myrmidon. But these guys are Theridons with their hooves and their axes and their big banner. And if you are like us and you play Vermintide 2, you fight these bad boys. And they're jerks.
It's unpleasant.
It's not great. Don't love it. We also got the Battle Tome roadmap. So we have Disciples of Tzeentch and the Lumineth Realm Lords, which, as they pointed out, they just put out a box with the Disciples of Tzeentch and the Lumineth Realm Lords, so that seemed pretty on point. We have the Ogor Mawtribes and the Sons of Behemat, followed by the Slaves to Darkness.
That's one thing. When they previewed that Ogor earlier, my initial thought was, is this going to be part of an upcoming Battle Tome and box, and are there going to be more models? So I'm still curious to see if there will be more models, but even if it's only that one with a new Battle Tome, that's fine.
The final piece from this evening's preview is good old Horus. Except it's not old Horus, it's new Horus. It's Horus Ascended, which, if you have the books, you'll see that there are, in fact, 2 versions of Horus that are available to play. So this is Horus Ascended. This is later on into the heresy when he is full heretic. And he's having a bad time. This is still a resin Forge World model.
I think he's having a better time than his base is.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose he's having a great time and everyone else is having a bad time. But he is now, like, this is like the next step towards his full transformation. I love Horus, and he's great, and it's so creepy. Basically every bit of his old, you know, the person he was has started to, like, melt away. They gave us this cool preview, this cool comparison of, you know, heroic, noble Horus, and then Horus Ascended, who is no longer on a tactical rock staircase and is instead on a pile of corpses.
I love the details that they pointed out that were changing, like the his wolf pelt is kind of rotting and decaying away. All his Luna Wolf iconography is gone, replaced by the Eye of Horus. The Talon of Horus looks meaner. Everything about him is bigger. Yeah,
spikier.
Angrier.
The claw.
Yeah, spikier and there you go, more skulls.
More skulls.
as befits a chaos hero.
So good.
So one of the things that they hinted at, because I think Horus is cool as a character, but I've never really delved that much into him. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that they did mention is that he was probably not going to be the only character from the Horus Heresy to be getting this ascended treatment.
And I didn't look in the book. I hadn't paid attention to that back going through the book, and so now I feel like I need to check.
Here's the thing: I didn't notice the Ascended on Horus, so there's a good chance that if there are other Ascended profiles, I did not notice those either. But I do know that Mortarion doesn't have one.
Yeah.
But I'm also thinking that we're not done seeing books, and we probably will be seeing a book for late stage Horus Heresy.
Which would be great. That's a great way to keep it from stagnating.
Exactly.
The way that
and
something
maybe
like
it's the Siege of Terra
Titanicus has
expansion
done.
book.
Yeah.
And in that book, that's where you can possibly have those missing profiles for other ascended heretic or loyalist Primarch.
Sure.
And what's fun about that is that when you look at the rules, a lot of the Traitor Guard legions seem to have various, I can't remember, I think they're rights of war that you can choose. And there's always one that is clearly more chaos oriented. Right. If you look specifically at the Death Guard, one of them is all about poisoning the battlefield, which is very much their post-corruption version of war. And having this ascended version of these characters, these Primarchs, as another signifier, like you can only take this ascended version if you are playing the Traitor version, maybe add in some more rights of war. It is a way of keeping these armies fresh, giving them a new coat of paint, but also, and this is the part that is kind of like the blue sky thinking, if you will, of seeing a book about the Siege of Terra over late stage Horus Heresy is we have Horus. We have a 1,000-point Horus profile. Everybody's going to be asking themselves, okay, cool. Can we see him fight an Emperor model? Can we get the Emperor at long last?
Ooh. Could happen.
And I'm thinking, like they've talked about, they're releasing the last tome of the Horus Heresy Black Library novels is going to be split into 2 books, so massive it is. And we have an image of one of the covers, which is the Emperor atop the towering golden throne, pre him being killed and turned into a corpse.
Right.
So I think at some point, if Games Workshop doesn't deliver, especially now that the Horus Heresy has its very own game, if we don't deliver on the Emperor in some way, shape, or form, it's going to be very disappointing. And I know you probably want to keep the mystique of that character, but also he is part of the Horus Heresy. He fights in the Horus Heresy, and that needs to be addressed.
I love it. So, heck of a preview. It was a lot of stuff.
I'd say.
It's
fun because there's so many tiny things that are from other armies that I'm lukewarm on.
Sure.
But even the stuff for things like a good example is Horus. It's magnificent to see what they've done with that.
Absolutely. So it's very exciting. There's a lot more to come, I'm sure. And we'll cover it all here on Warhammer Workshop, on our Warhammer Workshop podcast, which is available in both video and audio form, and on our Twitter at Warhammer Workshop. Until next time, for myself, for JF, thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.